Oh, I'm sorry. Shoot, I think I don't have the mug set up on this local host at the moment. I think I just had it on the Amazon system. Sorry, I haven't done this in a couple weeks. Can I remember the address now?
Yeah. Well, what happens?
So Dan, you want to be telling us where this was built and what it's running on now? So you're going to the Amazon instance now. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, okay, so when I run it, I just have a simple script. Yeah, okay, so yeah, on the local host, I didn't have these mugs set up. And I was, okay, good. And I think I had set the mugs up differently on localhost or changed them. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. So you can see the information get filled in on the sheet here. Pretty straightforward. And there's just kind of an all-purpose script that does this. So so basically you just type HN, and if you type nothing, it will take you to the remote machine. If you, well, let's say we go to the remote machine, and then we're in the Honeycomb folder there, and then whatever we want to do here, if we use B, it will do the build of it. If we use F, it will copy the schema files into their proper place. So if those get updated on the root user, if M is for the background servers, the MySQL and the Tomcat 7. Right now I have it on MySQL. Of course, you can use MariaDB or MySQL. And I checked in with MariaDB, but I usually just, those 4 files or whatever that define the SQL server, I've just been using MySQL instead, usually. S is just for setting up the style sheets, the SAS server. R for Redis server. B for Pacquiao. And Z for loading up the Chrome pages. So basically that shows how it works. And right now the mug numbers, if you look into the code, they're just hard-coded because it was just for a demo. It wasn't meant to be a production product. So those can be changed. Like, so for right now, they're just mapped in the code. So you'd have to have a mug 117 for Elisa, 118 for Claudia, and so on. Of course, that can be changed. There's some copied code because this was just for a quick demo. That could be moved out to one function. It's all just copied for each person, but it'd be easy enough just to put that in a function if you want. It's using Savon for the SOAP, the Ruby SOAP client library, and it's just using DTEP message.
Hey Dan,
yeah.
what route do these show up as? I just started an instance here locally, and I was trying to navigate to just the home page, just like localhost 3000, and there's nothing there. So do I need to go to something?
Yeah, it's a sub page. You'll see triage/new, and for the hospital.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Hello?
Or Tim or Claudia. Yeah, so it's so if you go to just the basic page, it's not going to show you anything. If you want, of course, you could redirect the main page to one of the others, but so if you look at the route, mostly all that's happening in this code is it's just rebinding the data into the XML, and which is all being handled by Savant, and then just pulling it out on the other side. One important thing is that when you map this data, let me see, sorry. One of these, you have to make sure that you use the quotation marks around the keys in the hash. Otherwise, it can be a big headache. Just because it will want to fix what it thinks is fixing it by making it camel case or such and such. And anyway, it might not be very clear if that happens. But it should be pretty straightforward.
So these end users like Joe and Tim and Joel and all of those, is there a programmatic way of adding a new end user, or is that something that you're currently just doing by hand? And how much of the data inside of each of those index.htmls is redundant? Like, are those just exact copies of each other, or is there something specific to each of those users in there?
They're exact copies, so it could easily be moved out to a function, easy peasy. Because it was for a demo and I was just setting it up, I just did a find and replace in there. But so there's this variable name map. So if you want to change it, because it starts with 110 normally, you could just go 110, 111, 112, or you could read it in from a data file, of course. But yeah, like you say, it's not super definable right now. You'll see the options are hard coded in here. Those names.
And are you using any? Is there any sort of additional database backend that you're using with Pacquiao, or is it just? Well, I guess it's
Redis was running in case I wanted to save off things, because I think you have some experience with Redis. It's really easy and nice to be able to save off data and read it back in. So I was thinking to use that. Elisa recommended not that we keep things in the SQL database, which I understood. So I've basically I haven't really been using the Redis part of that at all.
I mean, Pacquiao is going to use it anyway, just in a production run. It has to use that to keep track of like WebSockets and stuff. But you're saying you're not using it on top of just the base Pacquiao functionality.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you go back to the page, you can see your past results. I mean, the past things you entered and things like that. And I think that's saved off, like you say, by Pacquiao and Redis. But I am not using any set gets, dells, or anything like that.
And then I was just looking at, you have at the bottom there the Google APIs. Like, obviously, you've got the map embedded. Do you have any sort of, did you have to get a Google API key for that, or is that just straight up public APIs?
I did get a key, but it's not implemented. I was told not to really make that part for the demo because we're not really working on a triage card for real use. It's just for demo's sake. So right now it's just you'll see it's basically just the tag, the embed, and it's not there's nothing much to it. So if you want to replace it with a map, I was also told that there might be some other map system that would be preferred to use than Google. So so anyway, that would be worth discussion. Like if you decide to make this for production use, of course you might even reconsider the map. You may instead want a body diagram that the person can touch and tag the parts of the body that are injured or something like that. There might be other things that are more useful.
All right, that's a good point, Dan. I'm glad you mentioned that. And there are a lot of the electronic triage cards out there, so we put a semblance of one here that we could use for demonstration. But the intent is that as we show it to people, we may find that people already have triage cards they want to use. So it's a base capability, and we'll learn what else is needed and whether we don't need to have one of our own at all, and we'll just wind up using ones that belong to the clients. So we've got something in there to show, but we may, like Dan said, find that there are other things more helpful than a map to have there or in addition to the map. So we just didn't pursue a lot of different options there yet.
So it should be good when you pull it, except that I normally don't use the MariaDB, so I'm not sure if it's going, it should just work straight off, but you might want to pull those 4 MySQL files or setups or whatever they are.
Yeah, the monitor appears to run. I don't have the corresponding, but it does look like the Pacquiao component is doing what it's supposed to here.
Yeah, so it should be pretty straightforward because there's not a whole lot of complication in the routes. Just be careful if you change some of those hash keys that you put the quotation marks around it so it doesn't reformat the hash key.
And as far as all of these, XPath calls do you have in here, do you have that documented outside of this as far as how that maps to the standard? I would say that's probably the real meat of it here is making sure all of it populated in the correct places, and that's probably the place I have the least familiarity. I'm sure, Riley has been sitting in on some of these presentations.
And you may want to change the schema a bit. I kind of made a schema, but it's a little bit of a Frankenstein because it's from a version 1 here, a version 2 there, and
you say version 1 and 2, or are you talking about TEP versions?
Yeah, I mean there's many standards, many OASIS standards being implemented, right, that are being called from one to another. Sometimes there's a difference in the capitalization of the tag or such things. So you may want to change it, or there may be something additional to be added, or you might find, because some of this was guesswork on my part, I was trying to get all this data to pass through. You might find that a couple of these don't go in the best element. So I would recommend reviewing it, and the way to do that is really to pick through the schema and to go onto the OASIS standards. It's pretty well documented online, but there's so many different pages for this standard, that standard. of course, all the schema files should be saved. I tried to save at least most all of those onto the into our repository, so that you can see those. But I would recommend someone. It depends on what your priorities are for demoing and for delivery. But I would recommend someone go through those carefully and check that that things are really implemented and being used the way that they're supposed to be. And that may require someone more expert in what exactly all the fields mean. Because although they're documented, they're not heavily documented, some of them.
Right, and let me interject there. The TEP 1.1 specification is the one that is most current and will wind up being a standard. That's the one that we actually developed with HL7, which is the in-hospital messaging standards body. We developed a bidirectional transformation spec so that we can take each field of the TEP and map it directly to an in-hospital data item. And that mapping is very explicit and very well documented in the transformation spec, and that's actually a committee note, but it's in the artifacts of the Emergency Management Technical Committee. So when we need to get to that, I just want to let you know that that is there. And Dan did the necessary mapping he needed to do and tweaked what he needed to be able to demonstrate a hospital web form, which is the landing pad for this data. But if we were to have a real live client, they would have a hospital web form that would have to be designed specifically for them. But we would have the official mapping for the in-hospital data to the TEP data. So just know that exists, but that may not be exactly what's portrayed on what you're seeing now.
So
Yeah.
as it thinks, generate a TEP 1.1 compliant XML file that it sends to the Honeycomb server. Have you checked it against the schema and it's valid and parses and everything is okay?
Yeah, it parses and all of that. Of course, even an incomplete, not a full-blown version would also validate. So, there are some fields that are optional in such things, but it works. And if you want to add more to it, that some of this data may have been better passed through using the optional fields rather than some of the fields that I used. I mean, some of them were kind of like things where you could extend it, right? So there was a field where you could just extend the schema, and that might be something to use. It wasn't clear to me exactly where every single thing should go best, so I just did my best guess.
So more of a high-level kind of architectural question. I'm advising another project right now, and they're having some issues scaling Pacquiao up to production deployment. I guess, do you have some thoughts on whether or not you would use Pacquiao if you started over from scratch on this, and if you were to take this all the way up to a production deployment, do you think Pacquiao would still be the right framework?
Well, I mean, my understanding is that it should be pretty scalable. I mean, things run on the server end, but like through Heroku or something like that, and I don't know that would be the best deploy method. Through Heroku, the whole idea is that it would be scalable, right? That you could just start adding more of the little, whatever they call them, gears or whatever. And that it should be able to just keep adding servers, basically. But I haven't used any large-scale Pacquiao projects, but my understanding about Pacquiao is that it's made for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think the big thing they were running into is just memory. Like it's not necessarily a CPU thing. They're running it on Heroku, but yeah, it's a memory hog for whatever reason. I think that's just Ruby. I mean, every time
Ruby
I use Ruby,
probably because it does so much, or it has the capability to do so much that it has all those gems that I guess it's always loading. And there may be preferable to strip down some of those gems. It may not be necessary for this project. Yeah, to be honest, I hadn't really considered that much because when I've used it, it's been okay. The only thing is, like with Heroku, if you have a free account, when your page first loads, it has to wake up the thing, right? So if you have a paid account, it will wake up immediately because it's always got extra little web hooks or whatever they are kind of ready to go. But with the free account, you only have one, so it has to wake up, and it can take maybe 10 seconds to wake up or something like that. Or maybe not that long, I'm not sure. But as far as the memory consumption goes, I wasn't aware that it would affect scalability really.
yeah. I mean, I don't think it's. I mean, it sounds like a problem that can generally be fixed with money, which is okay, I guess. And I mean, obviously, Brian Powell and Metabond is here in town, so we can talk to them if we have issues scaling it up. I was just curious, as far as your like gut feeling about Pacquiao in general.
Well, my gut feeling, and this demo doesn't demonstrate it too well, to be honest, because I was just trying to kind of get the demo going for the users that we were going to demo with. So this isn't the best coded. I mean, as far as it wouldn't be hard to change it, just put this in one function. It's just I wanted to make sure it worked for the demo. Is that it's very nice in that it kind of has a compartment for everything. I mean, you've used it, so you're kind of familiar with the sort of organization of it, and if you want to, basically everything that's actually delivered on the web has a place under the main Pacquiao folder, and then anything else can go behind the scenes or go into whatever parts of it get delivered go into the public. And I don't know. I like the organization. I feel good using it now. Ruby was new to me, so it was a learning process for me. I mean, it's still a bit of a learning process. I wasn't using best practices. I've been kind of learning about those. But I was just kind of using a basically organized way to do it.
Excellent. Okay, no, that's all I wanted to hear, I guess. So as far as the AWS stuff, were you doing that under a Honeycomb account? Did you have a AWS Honeycomb, or were you doing that under a personal AWS account?
Yeah, Joe can tell you more about that too. He set it up, but it's Honeycomb Networks user, and it's info@honeycombnetworks.net is our main account. I don't think it's a paid account. I think it's a free account, but we might pay a little into it. I'm not sure. And so I'll just check the password to make sure I know what it is. Okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to be able to get in there if I need to.
Yeah. I'll send you... Joe should know the password. He set up this account.
If Joe knows, that's not a big deal then.
Joe, are you
I
on
just
here
wanted to
now?
make sure that-
Yeah, anytime
Oh.
you guys need access, feel free to call me or shoot me an email, and I can get you in. And I don't have the password of that account right offhand, but I can always just go in and reset it. So
I did not create a Heroku account for Honeycomb. I was just trying it on my own. I deleted that app now. But if you if you want to do Heroku, you don't need to. You just create a new one. And
No, I'm most comfortable with AWS.
okay.
I mean, if somebody else wants to do Heroku, then I'm good with it. But obviously, I have limited experience there.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to make sure that we continue to have access to whatever cloud services that you've set up.
Yeah. So we didn't use a lot of the integrated AWS. We didn't use any of it. We just used you set up Docker for us, and so you'd be familiar already with everything we've done on AWS. None of our code is written with the API in mind.
You're just still running all that under like EC2 instances, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Did you experiment at all using Amazon's RDS, whatever their relational data store, or did you not get a chance to look into that?
I think I tried it, but I never did anything with our code in relation to that. We talked about it, and I tried it out, but just with an example, but I never got past that. It's something maybe Elisa might have some thoughts on it. I don't know, or probably you'd have the best experience with that.
I think that's just about all that I've got. I don't know, David or Riley, you have any other questions? It looks like what's in GitLab is functional. Like I just checked it out and booted it up in Docker, and everything looks happy. There was like one missing dependency, but once I fixed that, it was fine. So we should be good.
Thanks, y'all. Sorry it took me so long to get on and set up here.
That's okay, Dan. I was glad you were able to do it. Listen, I did have, I guess, a question or two. Is there anything else that you were working on that we need to capture? I know you did some work with Docker, and then I know you did some work on the server itself, on the hard server that you have, which I do need to get by and pick up this afternoon. I'll be in town to do that. Is there anything about that you want to share?
Yeah, okay, so Docker, Michael really knows Docker, so basically what I was doing was just using mostly what he had written. I wound up having to change a couple of things at the time, but then I had to set up my own stuff a little bit, but Michael really knows Docker, and as far as the hardware goes, I pretty much stopped using that a while ago. So the setup on that is not. I would clone right over it, because it's going to be out of date at this point.
Okay.
And as far as other processes or things, I have contact information for a lot of people we met and talked with. If you'd like that, Elisa, I can deliver that to you too. I tried to make sure the documents went in our reference Git under folders related to those items, so that information should be captured. And I don't think I have any additional programs or anything that need to be delivered. I think that pretty much sums it up.
All right. Well, good. Does anybody else have any other questions or anything?
No, I think that covered all the questions on our end.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And Dan, if you want to stay on the line for a few minutes, we'll go over how we can get together and I can pick up the server.
Sure, Lisa. Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Dan, going through that and showing everybody where things are. So maybe we can pick up the ball and move it down the road if we can get somebody interested in it. That's what our hope is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then on your passwords and things, I did not realize your Honeycomb account wasn't still accessible, so you probably haven't gotten my last emails.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. And of course, I want to be sure that you've taken care of I'll have a paper for you to sign on the equipment loan. And of course, all your passwords are, and things you've been made privy to, that's all covered under your NDA, which continues on. But
yeah.
Anyway, so I'm going to be. You go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to assure you, I'll delete everything I have related to Honeycomb at this point, as far all files, all programs, reference documents, everything. So
Okay.
just so you don't wonder. I mean.
Well, I've just got to count on you doing that because it puts us, at risk, and make sure your backups are cleaned up too, and there's none of the SETI or Honeycomb code or let's see anybody else we had partners with like Relentless Thinking or any of that. So just make sure that's all been deleted. And appreciate your good work and the things you were able to show here today. And maybe we can find a paying home for it down the road at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate being a part of Honeycomb Networks. It's been a really cool experience, and I think you guys are doing some very important stuff, so I'm wishing you a lot of luck with it. And
well, it's certainly been good working with you too, Dan. If you ever need a reference, I doubt you'll need one in Russia, but at some point down the road, if you need a reference, I'm happy to help you there.
I definitely might, because over when it's out of country, then they don't even know if this place you're talking about really exists. You know what I mean?
Right.
So just to actually be able to contact a human on the other end might be important.
Right.
So yeah, I appreciate it, Elisa. It would probably help me out, because right now I'm kind of I don't have a work visa over there, so I'll probably be working kind of freelance until that point. So it may be a company in the U.S. or it might be, I'm not sure, but anyway.
Right.
So,
well, how's Maria doing? Is the baby coming along? Everything's good?
Yes, she's doing well. Some days she feels a little sick, but she's doing great. And of course, it's stressful for us right now, being on other sides of the world a little bit. But
right.
But
well, I know she's anxious for you to come out there, huh?
Yeah. She misses me. Of course, I'm missing her a lot, and trying to get out there to visit. And I may take the return flight, or I may stay out there. Just it depends on how things are going for me. But either way, I'm just trying to keep her safe and keep things moving along in the right direction. So.
Sure. Well, it's a long way and a big ocean in between. But when part of you is over there, I know it's going to be hard.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it. Back in the '80s, this wouldn't have even been possible.
No, that's true. That is.
So.
Yep.
So. Great.
So you'll be going on just a visit visa to start with, and then see how it goes, huh?
Yeah, I'm going over there on a tourist visa. I'm going to try to stay as long as I can on that visa. But if things are not working out within the first couple of weeks, or if she's feeling, like if I'm feeling like I can't take care of things there, then I'm going to take the return flight here and get set up here. But my real goal is to try to start an immigration process over there. So it just feels like a lot right now. But
Wow,
it's going
that's
to
big.
always feel like a lot if you do this.
Yeah, well, it's a big thing, and I'll keep you in my prayers too, Dan, because it's just a huge adventure and a huge undertaking, and you grow in your family, and then it's a long way away, and I know you're going to be having some trials and issues, so I'll sure keep you in my prayers too as you struggle through all this.
Yeah, I'm worried about my daughter a little bit, but it could be a really good experience for her if I can make it work out right. And in any case, she'll be safe. Her mom's ready, and my relatives want to help with her and such. So everything's going to work out. I'll get her over there eventually, is my plan. Hopefully by
Yeah.
the school year. And it's a lot for all of us, but it's really cool. I really appreciate your good wishes and thinking about me for it, because that'll help.
Yeah, well, I wish you the best. Okay, well, I'm going to be in town here in a little bit. Is there a place we can meet up and I can pick up the hardware then?
Yeah, I'll need to get back to my apartment. Right now I'm at the co-working space. Let's see, you're at home right now, right?
Right, I'm in Grant.
Okay, because I'm trying to get my visa mailed off today, but I can do it tonight, I think. I'm not sure what time the post office closes, but...
Well, it's 3 o'clock now, so the traffic won't be getting too bad for another couple of hours. So maybe you could go to the apartment and come back to that co-working space. So that's a pretty central place, and then maybe you can
Yeah.
get your visa taken care of before traffic gets crazy.
Yeah, I need to go get it printed, so I'm going to need to go run by Kinko's. I will... I'll be on my phone. If you come into town, you can just give me a call and I can try to meet you wherever's convenient for you.
Okay.
I'd like to set something more concrete, but maybe that's just the best way to do it right now, because I'm going to be running from one
Right.
place to the other.
Right.
And,
Okay. Well, let's just sort of tentatively say sometime around 4 o'clock, and if we can do it before then, great. But otherwise, I'll plan to be in the sort of the central part of the city around between 3:45 and 4 o'clock, and that way
okay.
We'll connect then and see what we can do.
Okay, sounds great.
All right. Thanks so much, Dan. We'll see you in just a little bit then.
Okay, see you then, Elisa. Thanks.
Okay. Bye bye.